Hey guys, it's Marv here. I'm creating this video to give you a walkthrough so you can see exactly how I run the actions and what file folders I put them in just to keep life easy. Because remember, the most important thing when running these actions is make sure that you never ever ever change the file name. There's three rules: never change the file name, never change the file name, and never change the file name. So if you can remember those three, you're on your way. So you'll see as I look, these are the 27 design packages that we provided to you with the mock-ups, with the artwork, with the PSDs, everything in there. You see how I've got these folders. I've got artwork, artwork PSD files, and publish. You do well to emulate that. Anytime you create a design, have an artwork folder because that contains the JPEGs that you put into the Pillow Profits graphics artwork folder before you run the action. So it has the same name of folder. So when I told you not to ever change the name of a file, you are still allowed to create whatever name you want for your folders. But you see Air Force, the backpack still called Backpack Artwork. Air Force 2, it's still called Backpack Artwork. Beagles, Backpack Artwork. Everything every file for backpack has the same name. Every file for bedding has the same name because those actions will not recognize the file you put in the artwork folder unless the names are the same as they always have been. In other words, if you'd add a space there, that action really wouldn't have a clue what to do with that file because it wouldn't even see it. Once you change anything in a file name, it is a file that the actions won't recognize. So feel free to create folders like I have here: Air Force, Air Force 2, Beagles. But like I said, every time you look in the artwork or in the PSDs or in the published files, the naming conventions never ever change. So let's start from the top. Let's go to camouflage. I am going to where's my Pillow Profits graphics folder? There it is. I'll put it off to the side. And again, as you know, this has to reside on your desktop on a Mac or on your C drive on a PC. If this isn't sitting on a desktop on a Mac or C drive on your PC, it will not work. So let's go into camouflage. You can see I've created, first of all, I created all the layered PSD files with the text. Once I've built them all out, and you don't have to do all 23, you don't have to do tote bags, slip-ons. If you wanted to do just heels and running shoes and backpack, that's entirely up to you. But for what we provided to you guys, we did all 23 of all 27. So you've got a lot to keep you busy there. So once you create your PSD files, I would always save them as PSDs because you may want to go back and change them. And once you save them as JPEGs, they're flattened. There's no font information, there's nothing to work with. It's one layer and it's flattened. So you always want to keep your PSDs, but what you want to do is you want to open it, and then you'd want to go File, Save As, and then you'd want to save it in the camouflage folder, in Artwork, as a JPEG. Now, I've already saved mine, so I'm not going to do that. But once you click Save, it will ask you how high, I can't remember the exact terminology, but it wants to know the quality of the image that you're trying to save, the quality of JPEG. I always start with saving it at maximum image quality, but some of the bedding and some other more complex files, you may have trouble uploading because the files are just too large. So then just reopen it, overwrite it, save it as a JPEG and overwrite it, and choose high instead of maximum, and that should get you by. If for some reason the bedding is really complex and it still won't let you upload it, open it again, resave it as a JPEG over top of the existing file, and choose normal. It's not going to degrade your quality noticeably, but it sure is going to reduce your file size. So that's the workaround if you get that error message. So now, I've created the PSDs, I've saved all the Now this is not in my Pillow Profits graphics folder. This is in my camouflage folder. and these are the artwork files. So what I will do, I'll open Pillow Profits Graphics, and there's the artwork folder you want to get it into. So you can see that by naming it artwork, it's pretty easy for me to remember that the artwork files go in the artwork folder in Pillow Profits Graphics. So let's do the let's just go ahead and do the backpack, the first one. Okay, this is a good point. If you can copy it, so you can copy it, and then you can go in here and you can paste. Okay, that's one of the ways to do it. I'm just going to show you a couple ways. The other one, on a Mac, I'm not sure how you copy on a PC, but I think PC users typically do the copy and paste thing. Us Mac users like to do the drag and drop. So what I would do, if I would just drag it over here, it's not going to copy it, but if I hold down Option, you'll see the little green plus symbol, it's copying it. And that's good because it keeps it in that folder, because this I'll just throw out after I'm done creating the actions. So you definitely want it to be a copy that you put over here. So now I'm going to go into my artwork and confirm that, yes, there's a file there. I'm going to go in my publish and just confirm that I am starting with an empty folder, which I knew I was, but just for showing you, it's a new publish folder. I've reset it by dragging the blank publish folder out of assets and putting it here in the root of Pillow Profits Graphics. So now I'm ready to run my action. So let's go ahead. Yeah, that's okay. I was just going to say I should choose something other than backpacks because they tend to take a bit of time. They're slightly larger than some others, but let's go ahead. So I guess this gives me time to talk through some things. Anytime you're running these actions, just keep in mind, don't touch your computer. If what you're doing on your computer isn't Photoshop related, you should be fine. But it's a good rule of thumb not to do anything. Just step back, go get a drink, get something to eat, so step back and watch it work. The other thing you could do, the other thing that can happen, even if you aren't in Photoshop, and I had this happen to me one time, I was working in another program and I copied something. Unfortunately, some of these steps, Photoshop's required to copy and paste. So when it pasted what I had copied when I was working outside of Photoshop. It pasted it onto the product when I was running the action. So there are some things, even when you're not in Photoshop, can still affect the Photoshop action. So rule of thumb, don't touch it. Let it just run. So we're almost done here. It's working on the fourth backpack mockup. Sorry for choosing backpacks. I should have chosen something that's a little smaller so it runs quicker. But anyways, gave me time to point some things out. So I guess it's not all bad. So we're almost done. And that is it. So now we can go double check. Now, I don't need to keep a folder, so I'm going to move it to the trash. No longer required, because I still have my artwork files all in the original camouflage folder that I created with those 3 subfolders. Now I'm going to take a look in Publish, and you will see there are 4 mockups in the unframed of the Publish folder. I'm going to go in Framed, and you'll see there are 4 framed mockups. And now last but not least, let's go into Add Images into Backpacks. Let's go into the first version. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 of each of those, and that's times 4. So because there's 4 folders. So there is the other version, and then there is the 3rd version and the 4th version. Now keep in mind, now I wouldn't use these because it's not a transparent background. So I would probably use number 1 in this case. But keep in mind that the second one that doesn't have a banner can also be used as your cropped image at the top of, I forget what page that was, but you are required to use a cropped image. This is the image you'd want to use. You'd want to go into Add Images and choose one of the add images that doesn't have a banner on the bottom, and that's a cropped image that you can utilize. So that's it. I've created the action. So now what I would do, I would take that Publish folder and I would drag it into my camouflage folder. So I have my mockups in the same folder as the artwork PSD and the artwork. Now, as you can see, I'm not going to do it because I already have a published folder in here where I've run all these, and you can see I've got all 72 mockups. So I'm not going to do it now, but that's what you would do. And you wouldn't copy it out, you would move it out, because I'm going to pretend I'm moving it out, but I'm actually going to throw it out because I already have the published folder. And so when you move it out, it's missing here in the root of your Pillow Profits graphics folder. You'll always want to go into Assets, and on a Mac you hold down Option and you can just drag that blank published folder in, or again you can right click and you can copy the folder and then go in here and paste the folder. I want to point something else out because I noticed a lot of people at the seminar did this, and it is a little concerning. They were adding folders in the Pillow Profits graphics folder. One would be like version 2, one would have their name for some products that they're building. Please refrain from that. You're going to create heartache, and I guarantee if it hasn't bit you, it will. Leave this folder just with, when you unzipped it, leave it with just what's in there. Obviously, you'll be adding to the artwork folder because you'll add your artwork, but then you'll delete it after the actions run. Obviously, it will populate your published folder with all the mockups, which you'll move out, and then you'll replace with the blank published folder. You move it back in there. So that in a nutshell walks you through running your actions. It's really not complicated. Running it isn't. Building it might be a little more complicated, but running it is really quite simple. The thing with actions is that they are very, very logical. They don't fill in blanks. They don't make assumptions. If there's a space or a period that doesn't belong in the file name, the action will fail. If the published folder has files in it and you try to create mockups from your artwork folder by running the actions, it will fail because it's not expecting there to be any files in these folders. If you've changed any of these mockups, you've gone in and changed some text or edited them in any way, your actions may fail. So leave this untouched. If you want to work on mockups or work on anything, feel free to copy it, put it on your desktop, put it in another folder, and do some changes and whatever if you want to use them as standalone mockups. But again, proceed with caution. Assets, I would leave that. You can always use your default artwork PSD files to give to your designer so he has templates so he knows how to build them out. These are your default JPEG artwork files, which you can move into your artwork folder, and I think by default they are in there so that you can run tests to make sure all your actions are running properly. Or if you wanted to run, let's say, 15 products and there's 23 in here, you could run the action that is called, I think PC and Mac, we've named them differently on each, but it's the entire bundle of 23 actions. You could run them and then you'd know to throw out all the green ones because those are just extra, because you need files in here. It would break the actions if you ran all 23 and there weren't 23 in here. So then the remaining green ones would just be your filler and you could throw out those mockups. So I hope that makes sense. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with all this. But anyways, there you go. That is, in a nutshell, running actions from top to bottom, and hopefully it makes sense and you're on your merry way to making the big bucks.